great panel of women that are doing great work for not only our Dreamer students, but all of our Dreamers here in the Valley and at our universities. So I want to start off by introducing myself and telling you a little bit about myself. Again, this is what would I tell my high school Dreamer self prepping for College 101, right? So this session is going to be mostly about Dreamers and resources that are available for you. So as I said a little bit about myself, my name is Fatima Salcedo. I am with OneFuture Coachella Valley. I myself am a Coachella Valley High School graduate as well. I graduated from Tepito City High School back in 2013. I then went on to College of the Desert, where I completed my associate's degree and transferred out to Cal State Fullerton. I graduated in 2017 from Cal State Fullerton with a bachelor's degree in communication studies and a minor in women and gender studies. And I'm so happy to be here with you all today. And I just wanted to give you a little brief summary of OneFuture and who we are. We are a nonprofit organization here in the Coachella Valley that works to help students prepare ready for college and their careers and their lives. So part of the work that we do is we offer scholarship opportunities for students. So if there's any of you out there right now that are in your senior year and are starting to look into college, applying for scholarships and things like that, make sure to check us out and just stay on updated as our application will be opening at the beginning of the 2021. Also, please make sure to follow us on social media. These are our tags and names at OneFuture TV, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We will be sharing upcoming opportunities and resources for your college journey, and also we will be promoting the upcoming sessions for this series, How to Go virtual series. And also I know some of you might have already registered for the upcoming ones, but make sure to visit ntdweek.com. That's where we're advertising all of our sessions, and that's where you're going to be able to register for each one of them. Make sure you share them with your parents and with your classmates as well, because there's a lot of really good content that is going to be shared with you throughout the next upcoming months. And then also, I wanted to thank our sponsors and our partners for making these sessions available to you all. I know there's been a lot of work put into organizing this and just like the logistics of it. So thank you all that have been. At this point, I would like to introduce our panelists. If I can have Minerva Monzane, Ruby Becerril, and Maria Barragan, turn on your cameras and join us on the screen. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a very strong panel of leaders that are really doing a lot of work in this field with our undocumented students, and that get to hear not only have they gone through this experience themselves and have to learn how to navigate it, but they became experts at it to help other Dreamers do the same. So if I can have each of you just kind of introduce yourself, a little bit about your background, your education, and then just where you are at right now currently, and what you plan to do with that, where you plan to go with your career. So if I can have you, Ruby, kick us off. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ruby Becerril Gonzalez. Like Fatima mentioned, I am currently the outreach specialist at College of the Desert at the Dreamer Resource Center. I am also local from here from the Coachella Valley. I graduated from Desert Hot Springs High School in 2019, and I also attended College of the Desert. And I transferred from College of the Desert in 2014, and I also attended Cal State San Bernardino, where I earned my bachelor's in sociology in 2016. I am also an undocumented individual. I do have the privilege of having DACA, so I've been able to work at College of the Desert. I am also currently a student continuing on with my master's degree at Cal State San Bernardino as well. So I'm happy to be here. We're gonna have the time to talk about a couple things. We'll have time for questions, but I do welcome you to reach out and then just ask, feel as comfortable as you. I encourage you to just feel comfortable to reach out with questions. Thank you.
Minerva, if we could have you go next.
Thank you, Fatima. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Minerva Montaner Resendiz. I am also a graduate from Catiro City High School and a COD alumni, and as well as Cal State San Bernardino alumni as well. I am one of the educational coaches with the Undocumented Student Success Center at Cal State San Bernardino in our Palm Desert campus.
Thank you, Minerva. Maria?
Hi all, my name is Maria Barragan. I'm the coordinator of the Undocumented Student Success Center at Cal State San Bernardino. Unfortunately, I'm not from the Coachella Valley, but I'm very proud to serve the students who do attend our Palm Desert campus. I have been in my role for the past almost 5 years, so it's really exciting to be able to serve undocumented students.
Thank you, Maria. And that is great. I think the work that you're doing goes all around, and I think the need is everywhere. So thank you for jumping on this work and for continuing to help our dreamers. And I just wanted to tell everyone, just to kind of give you a little bit of, as we listen to this testimonials, and we see kind of like the end line and where are they now, or panelists, and it makes you wonder, how did they get there? Right? As a high school student, you're here trying to figure out how to apply for college and what's next and what's the FAFSA and what's the DREAM Act. And then you see someone as a panelist that has gone through that process, figure out how to navigate it and made it, right? And I just want to say that their journeys have not come without any barriers. It has been a lot of struggles, a lot of barriers, and a lot of falling and getting up, and that's okay. Unfortunately, undocumented students many times have to deal not only with limited resources to go into their college journey, but also with the emotional toll that it takes, that it comes with that, right? Even the fear of asking for resources, of disclosing who you are or your status. So I'd like to ask our panelists to take us back a little bit. Try to put yourself back in that, senior year, junior year, high school, when you're starting to think, college, what's next? What am I supposed to be doing? Your peers are starting to apply to college. They're filling out the FAFSA, and here you are, right? Now being able to fill out the FAFSA. So if you can just put yourself in that moment, I don't know, 6, 7 years back in your senior year, and then just tell us a little bit about how was it when you realized that your legal status would be a barrier in your education, and how did you navigate that? If we can get started with you, Minerva.
Thank you. So if I would go back, during my senior year, leading up to my senior year, I knew that I'm a former undocumented student, so I knew I was an undocumented student back when I was in high school, even probably before that. But I didn't know what resources there were or what was available to me until my freshman year. I did join in Catiro City High School. There's a program called HEAL. So I wanted to study within the health services. So I joined HEAL, and our counselor was really great at finding resources for us, including those students who were undocumented at the moment. She was aware of what that was. She was on top of getting in contact with College of the Desert. So I was able to meet with her my senior year and kind of like discuss my worries of, well, will I be able to go to a 4-year university, or should I do community college? And we talked about both options, and both options being fine, since there was the California DREAM Act, right, that I could apply for, as well as other community scholarships. For example, the Pathways to Success Scholarship, now the OneFuture Scholarship. So for me, it was kind of like the only barrier that I think that I found was that I wasn't asking so many questions before applying to universities. So I applied to community college, and then later on I applied to the universities after finding out that it would be possible, right, for me to go. It would just be moving away from home and, finding ways to support my academics. So then I was able to apply to both. I did start at College of the Desert, however, right after high school, and that was great because I found a great support group, with the counselor there with Mr. Jose Simo, and starting from there, and also a student club, right? So then I found more support. And it was challenging, but they were there as a support, so I wasn't alone. I knew I wasn't alone anymore. I knew I could count on somebody, and there was help. And then I started helping others. So then hence I became helping our community. And when I moved on to CSU San Bernardino, I started working with the Undocumented Student Center. So I've been here for 4 years or so now. So then I see since starting senior year, asking questions and being aware of what there is for me, that helped me help others as I continue with my career.
Thank you, Minerva. And you say great things. I think that's probably one of the hardest things. Asking for help, seeking help is probably, at least to me in my experience, when it came down to, and I also went to Cathedral City High School, so I remember very vividly when they took us, all of our senior class into the lab, the computer lab, and we had to start filling our FAFSA, and we had to start filling our college applications. And you get to a point where they ask you for a social security number, and then you just kind of look around and you're just like, oh, I don't have that. Or a lot of the times we don't even know that we don't have that, right? Until we ask our parents, hey, what's my social security? And they're like, oh, by the way, you don't have one, you're undocumented, right? And then it's like, all right, so what does that mean, right? So that means that you look for more resources. That means that you, as Minerva mentioned, you figure out who your point of contact is, and some of us were very lucky to have a counselor in our high schools that had the resources and that knew how to help us navigate the process. I want to ask Maria if you mind sharing a little bit about your experience when you were starting your college journey.
I think for me, I always say my experience finding out that I was undocumented is very different from the rest. I didn't find out my senior year like most of undocumented students find out. For me, it was back in middle school, so back in like 2005, right? My sister self-deported after she graduated high school because of being undocumented. There wasn't many resources at the time. There was only AB 540, which I know we'll have the opportunity to discuss a little bit later. But with AB 540 being the only thing available, my sister wasn't able to attend college. So she decided to self-deport and find the opportunities back in the motherland, which is Mexico. And for me, that's when I realized like, oh, my journey might look the same. I might have to self-deport. So I felt a lot of anger towards my parents for bringing me to this country, right? And then you start hearing in the news like, your parents brought you here when you were young, you didn't know any better, things like that. So they start feeding you into that. And then in my senior year of high school, as we were approaching to college applications, I was an AVID. And all throughout my AVID years, I would always tell people, back in my day, it's not to like 7 years, we're talking like 10 years ago. I would tell my high school teachers, there was no term, there was no dreamer term, no undocumented term, there was no identities for us. So it was either the I word that I do not like using, or it was, I'm not from here, right? Those are the terms that you would use. So I would always tell my high school AVID teacher, I'm not from here, so why bother go to college? Right? But they didn't really understand what that meant. They had to go out of their way to help me find the resources and say, hey, there's this opportunity for you, right? But my senior year, my brother was deported. So I was facing another family separation, and I was already being affected by, the immigration system, basically. And then that's when I started getting involved in like a lot of immigrant rights movements, and realized that my parents are not to blame and that I cannot be angry towards my parents. If anything, I should be grateful for them because thanks to them, I will have the opportunity to have an education. Yes, it's going to be painful. Yes, I'm going to have to look for extra resources. Yes, I'm going to have to work twice as hard as my peers that are citizens or residents. But at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for sharing, your personal experience. And you're right, and I want to just remind all of our, documented dreamers that, yeah, a lot of those words, as Maria was saying, having a name or a tag for us, the dreamer, the undocumented, the AB 540, the documented, all of those terms that we've, in a way, acquired or that have been given to us have come because of the work that a lot of our dreamers and our undocumented peers have done, and a lot of our allies to make sure that we have a label, right? And that it's a label that does not start with the I word, as Maria said, because that's not who we are, right? So I just want to remind you, everyone, that for you dreamers, that your status and this that you're going through right now, these anxieties and these fears are temporary, and that they do not define who you are or what you do. There's going to be, as Maria said, there's going to be a lot of barriers, and in a lot of the times you're going to say, well, I'm not from here, why do it, right? But at the end of the day, having access to the education that we all did is the greatest takeaway from this. And your education is something that I'm sure you've heard, no one is going to be able to take away from you. So if in 2 years, in 5 years, you decide to self-deport or to, or hopefully, you have a pathway to citizenship, at the end of the day, your degree is yours and you get to take it wherever you go. So don't get so caught up in the whole, like, I'm undocumented, I'm dreamer. I think it's good that we acknowledge and that we recognize that, yes, we are dreamers, but how are we going to navigate the process? It's just a different process, but we're still going to do it. And I want to actually ask you, Maria, if you can kind of touch a little bit about the AB 540. You mentioned it right now. And if you can just tell us what AB 540 is for those students that have never heard this term, what it means and how you qualify for that.
Yeah. So back in 2001, an assemblyman, Marco Antonio Firebaugh, he actually introduced AB 540, which allows undocumented students who meet the eligibility criteria, and it's kind of a long list, but the primary requirements are that you attended a California high school for 3 or more years, graduated from a California high school, received a high school diploma or your GED. So by having these requirements, you are given the opportunity to pay in-state tuition. So you are paying the same exact fees as your citizen or resident friend. But AB 540 can also be used for citizens and residents of the US who, like, for example, were here in high school, left out of state, had to come back. Like, there's different scenarios, right? But primarily this was used to serve undocumented students pursuing higher education. And that was the first ever bill that was introduced when it came to assisting undocumented students in higher education.
Thank you, Maria. And Ruby, if I can have you share, AB 440 applies for community colleges, CSUs, and UCs. How is the process at a community college in terms of applying to AB 540? And by that, I mean, do you go to your financial aid office? Do you apply for it when you apply for your college application? Can you elaborate a little bit on what should the students expect and where should they go to start, filing their AB 540 form?
Yeah, definitely. So like I mentioned, I'm at College of the Desert, and the process for College of the Desert is you will submit your application to the college. And one of the questions you'll get to see is about citizenship. You will go ahead, and this is something that if you have a question, of course, you can reach me and I'll share my contact information. For most of our students, you'll select the option that gives you no documents. So you'll see an option for visas, you'll see an option for legal permanent resident. You'll select the option that says no documents. And then when you finish applying the process, because you selected that little box, the system will send you an email with additional information. And one of those will be, you may qualify for AB 540. Here's some information. It'll include information about the Dream Center. It'll include a link to the form. So the first thing you want to do is apply. And then the second thing would be to complete your AB 540. Usually for the AB 540 form, that's something that's processed through the Admissions and Records Office. In that email, you'll see the guidelines as to where it has to be submitted. Of course, not that we're doing everything online. You'll have to email it to a specific email from the college, or you can also have the option of contacting me if you have any questions about filling it out. And then when you complete it, I can submit it on your behalf to the admissions office, or you can send it directly to them. Part of the AB 540 form, AB 540 law, is that you do need to submit official transcripts to show your attendance. However, and as of right now, this only applies to College of the Desert. It is probably different at other schools, but our admissions office has decided to not request official transcripts. And that's something that some of the schools have the liberty to do, the discretion to do. And that's something decided by the director. Our director and our entire campus is super supportive. So they've decided to waive that requirement. So you just have to submit your form. You just fill out what school you attended, your credits, and then you're good to go. So that's kind of the process. And once you submit your AB 540 form, then the next things would be California Dream Act, seeing a counselor, and all of that. But of course, I know Fatima and some of our panelists will cover the rest of the process. But at COD, the main thing is apply, check that little box, and then you will receive the information. And then, of course, you can connect with me.
Thank you, Ruby. And then Minerva, is this a very similar process to what it's done at Cal State San Bernardino, or is it a little bit different?
Yes, so it's similar in the sense that you have to do, once you apply to the university, in the CSU, apply on the citizenship question. I believe on our part, it doesn't say no documents. It says other or none. Maria, help me with this one. I don't recall, because I know it also asks if it has visa and other parts, but it's either none of the above or other. Maria, can you help me with this one? I'm not sure which one.
I don't recall what they put. I know they recently changed the question because of the advocacy from the Dream Centers. They wanted it to be more of a specific question towards, like, if you have DACA or if you simply don't have like status. They wanted the language to be a little bit more friendly. But again, I don't recall exactly what the language is. But then once you select that box, you will receive a message from the residency specialist at the campus that you are planning to attend. And then they will let you know that, hey, based on your citizenship answer, we would like for you to submit a residency questionnaire along with the AB 540 affidavit. And then they will determine whether you are AB 540 eligible or not.
Thank you, Maria. And if any one of you feel free to jump in, AB 540, is this a private thing? Is this something that we disclose, that is disclosed to, to immigration services or anything like that? Or could the students feel comfortable to share this information or to disclose their status?
You are protected by FERPA. So this information does not go to immigration services. It does not go to anybody but the admissions office. Once that you're inputted into the system, I know they do have a procedure to get rid of any form or file that you have submitted. But no, this information is kept confidential. Same with the California Dream Act application. That is a process through financial aid, and they do not share your information with anyone, like any immigration services, unless that you are asking, like let's say that you have a path to citizenship and you are requesting the school for a letter of proof that you have been attending their campus, then that's something that they might be able to provide. But other than that, they will not.
Thank you, Maria. And yeah, I think that's a great point, and it's important for students to know that you are protected as a student student, and a lot of the times I know going back to, and I keep bringing back that high school day when we went to the lab, because that's kind of very vivid for me. But I think that was kind of when I decided that I didn't want to do my college, that I didn't want to move forward with it. Because once they said there's this law that is going to help you, I was like, well, law and government and everything is, that was kind of my belief, that if I put anything out there, it was going to be, it was going to affect me later on when I wanted to, work on my legal status or whatever. But, thank you for sharing that, and just to let the students know that you are protected, and that, filling out this information will open up opportunities to resources that otherwise wouldn't be available to you. And I wanted to take it back to you, Ruby. You mentioned the DREAM Act application. So if you can just kind of very briefly tell us a little bit about that. Maria mentioned you need to fill out the AB 540 in order to be able to do the DREAM Act. When do we apply for the DREAM Act? So we apply for college, and we let them know that, we answer the question in regards to citizenship, and then they automatically tell us, okay, you got to fill out the AB 540 so that we can put you as in-state tuition, right? Then there's the DREAM Act. And so can you elaborate a little bit on what it is, the deadline, and what it does for a DREAMer student?
Yeah, definitely. So the California DREAM Act provides state-funded financial aid for our undocumented students, our DREAM students. In order to be eligible for the California DREAM Act, you do have to meet the AB 540 criteria, which I think at some point we'll cover. But just to clarify, for most of you that are joining us that have been in your high school in California for at least 3 years and you graduate, then you should meet the criteria. Again, sometimes there's specific cases, but once again, we're here for you to kind of help you navigate those situations that might be a little bit more particular. So the first thing is, even if you haven't applied to COD yet, we want you to apply to the California DREAM Act like yesterday. So the application opened early October, and the deadline is also, I believe it's still March 2nd. Sometimes depending on the business days, they kind of change it a little bit, but you'll hear, right, that the FAFSA, applied by March 2nd. It's kind of the same thing for California DREAM Act. You want to apply as soon as possible. And that way it also gives you time, if you get anything like a little flag that there's something that you need to check, it gives you time to address it. So going back to the process, even if you haven't applied to COD yet, just because the applications for the community college, they start a little bit later, we want to make sure that you are applying. If you are also considering Cal State, UC, you want to make sure that you apply like now. So bottom line, apply now. The thing with the California DREAM Act, like I mentioned, it does provide state-funded aid. So you are eligible to receive, you could be eligible for the Cal Grant. Once you are enrolled at the college for at least one semester, then you will be eligible to qualify for EOPS, which provides additional resources. And I don't want to throw out too much information to you. I don't want to overwhelm you, but just know there's a lot of resources that can be connected to the California DREAM Act. So we want to make sure that your AB 540 form is on file so that when you apply to the California DREAM Act, they can kind of link them both to your account. It does make a huge difference, although it's not as much money as you would get with the FAFSA. It is a lot of support, which for most of our students, it'll cover your tuition fees. So that is the biggest thing. I do want to share, for me, when I started at College of the Desert, it was before the California DREAM Act was in effect. It it passed in summer 2011, and it went into effect January 2012, and I graduated in 2011. So when I started my first semester at COD, it was still 2011, so I wasn't eligible for the California DREAM Act. So I did have to pay for that myself. Fortunately, I did have a scholarship, and of course by OneFuture Coachella Valley. So that was a big help for me. So bottom line, apply for California DREAM Act. Did I miss a bit of your question, or was that? Yeah, okay. So bottom line, just apply whether you're considering, and even if you're not sure, you're considering a CSU, Cal State, CSU or UC or community college, just apply.
Thank you, Ruby. Yeah, and just remember, DREAM Act is for the state of California. So unfortunately, if you're trying to go out of state, the Dream Act wouldn't be the one that you would fill out. You would want to research if there's any opportunities for undocumented students out of state at the university that you will be attending or the college. But if you are planning on attending a community college, Cal State or UC, as Ruby mentioned, the California Dream Act would be the one where you get started. And that's right. I think Ruby just said it perfectly. As soon as the deadline, the applications open, go and fill them out. Let that be your trigger rather than the deadline. You want to be first in line. You know, this awards and this money, this financial aid that is given to students pursuing a college degree, it's given like first come, first serve. So if you're at the end of the line and everyone else already got it, you might not get it or you might not get as much. So you want to make sure to be on the front of the line. And just to kind of reiterate, you know, it opens up opportunities to grants. So free money from our government, right? In this case, the state of California. Ruby mentioned that, yeah, we do not get as much as the FAFSA, and that is because we don't get the federal aid, right? We don't get the federal Pell Grant. So we only get what the state of California gives us, and which is a grant. But with that, with the Dream Act, you also have the opportunity to apply to scholarships and to loans, to be considered for loans as well. So I would ask Minerva if you can kind of speak a little bit about scholarships, any scholarships that you might have encountered along your college journey, and if there's any that you've been kind of sharing with students in the last few months, or that you can kind of think of, if you can share with those students so that they can start just kind of researching and start making some time into scheduling them into your calendar in the next few months.
Yes, of course. For me, back in the day, same as Ruby, you know, I had to pay out of pocket for COD when I first started, but until 2012 hit. Later on, I did, however, apply to the what was back then Pathways to Success Scholarship, which is now OneFuture Coachella Valley. So I did have the opportunity there, the assistance there. Now we within the college or the university, the colleges and universities have their own scholarship website that you can apply to. I don't remember for COD, but for CSUSB, there is a scholarship site that opens early in January, and it is due around March 2nd as well. So you have a few months there to do the scholarship site, and that opens up scholarships within the school itself. So within different programs, different departments. And all of our students are able to qualify for those, and that's one linked with the school. Another is we have our own scholarship resource guide, which Maria has shared on the chat here. You all can follow it. It's over 30 pages of scholarships. They are open to all undocumented students, which means they don't require a status. They don't require to have DACA. They don't require to have a social, anything like that. You know, they just want to hear your story or know your grades or know what you want to do and how they can help you financially, the organization, right? So then we have that there open for everyone. There are some for high school seniors, and once you're in the community college or in the university, you can also apply to the other ones that are there. So it tells you the criteria, and they are broken down by month of when they are due. So there are a lot due this November. So you can start looking at those, see if you qualify, if you're moving on to community college or university, and if you fall under the criteria from those. Certain other ones that we've heard our students have been receiving has been, one famous one is from Cardenas, you know, the Cardenas supermarkets. They have their own scholarship. We've had some students who have received that as well, because it is open to undocumented students, as well as there's one that is called the Miguel Contreras Foundation. That one is a really good one. And that one also, I believe, is for graduate students. So after undergraduate, also graduate students, those going for their masters, they can also apply. We also have the Dream.us scholarship. That scholarship used to be a partner scholarship with us, but it is no longer in California. So if students were to hear about it now, it no longer applies to California. And that was before last year, just to have that clarification in case any student comes up along with it. But yes, there are plenty more in our scholarship guide. I don't know all of them by heart, but they are a lot. Like I said, over 30 pages of scholarships broken down by month. Take a look at that. If you need any assistance with them or have any questions, let us know. We can always meet with you to go over that. We also have our peer mentors and tutors that can help along once you come with us, or even before we can meet with you as well.
Thank you, Minerva. And yes, please make sure to check out the chat because I know that Ruby and Maria have been both sharing resources at CalState and COD. So make sure that you check out the scholarship guide for sure. That's a great resource to have. And, you know, just take it and put it in your calendar and start applying to all of them. It's great. I myself was...
Sorry, can I break in one?
Go ahead, Minerva.
Sorry, I go all over the place. But there is also a few applications on your smartphone that you can download. The DACA Scholars is one, and also, oh my gosh, Dreamers Roadmap. There you go, I'm sorry. Dreamers Roadmap is also another app that you can download on your phone. And there's also another website, it's called Immigrants Rising. And they also have a huge list as well of scholarship resources on there as well. And they're not, our scholarship resources mainly, you know, within the IE, the Coachella Valley and close areas, but Immigrants Rising has further out scholarships open to the students who want to go to further out schools within California as well. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Sorry.
Thank you, Minerva. That's great. And there you go. If you were trying to figure out where to start and you didn't know what scholarships you qualify for or not, there's a huge list for you to get you started. And I just want to encourage you all that even if you do go into a specific scholarship and they don't mention anything about undocumented dreamers in their eligibility or their requirements, still reach out to them and ask. I know that a lot of organizations might not advertise it as much, but they definitely help a dreamer. So I know myself, when I was in college, I applied to a bunch of scholarships, and a lot of the times they did require a citizenship status, or at least that's what their website said, and then I ended up getting it. So, you know, just take your time to just kind of reach out, send them a quick email, and just tell them, I'm wondering if, you know, you accept applications for dreamers or undocumented students, and the worst thing they can say is no. So thank you. And then you mentioned a bunch of resources, Minerva, so we're going to make sure to include those when we send you an email with all the resources that we've been sharing throughout the presentation today. But before we kind of get close to the end, I wanted to invite you all to just kind of reflect on some of the resources that maybe we didn't touch and that you think that they were very important to you or that are now being used by students. I just want to put that question out there and kind of have you think about that. So knowing what you know now, what will you tell your dreamer high school self? What resources will you tell them to go for, and what other tips can you share with them? Ruby, you want to get started?
Yeah, thank you, Fatima. I think the first thing would be to just ask questions. I know it can be scary to, you know, share your status and share your situation, especially right now in the political climate that we're in. But just know that your counselors, even your teacher, it doesn't have to be a counselor, are very supportive. I know it's even more visible now about that support. You can also, you know, if for some reason you don't feel comfortable sharing with someone at your high school, you know, we've shared here, right, that you can reach out to us and we can kind of help you with the process. So I would say first thing is find someone that you feel comfortable with at your high school and share that. And, you know, maybe they're not able to directly have the answers, but they can either help you navigate the process or they can maybe point you to someone that can help you a little bit more directly. I would say that would be the one of the things. Also, you know, we've covered a little bit about scholarships. Apply to as many as you can. Like we mentioned, unfortunately, the California Dream Act only covers a certain amount of what you need for your expenses for college. So having scholarships really do make a difference. At least for me, like I mentioned, I've received the OneFuture Coachella Valley scholarship throughout the whole time I was in college, so about 5 years. And right now also as part of my graduate program. And that made such a difference in me being able to do a lot of things. When I transferred to CSU San Bernardino, I was able to move to San Bernardino for my experience to be a little bit easier, to be more involved on campus. And that was because I had the funding that allowed me to cover a lot of my expenses. So apply for scholarships. We've shared a lot of resources. Maria and Minerva have shared a lot of resources. That would be the second thing. And then the last thing would be get involved with your campus organization, with your Dream Center or Undocumented Student Center. Not only so that you have more access to resources, but also so you find that support. If you have friends right now in high school that you know are undocumented, connect with them. Share these resources. If you've learned something today that they would benefit from, share with them. Maybe both of you can reach out together. It's really crucial that you create those connections and that you have kind of someone there walking next to you in this process.
Thank you, Ruby. Maria?
I think for me would be get involved. Continue to be involved, continue fighting, continue pushing. Because a lot of the things that I learned came from me being involved in my community and, like I shared, immigrant rights movements. One of the biggest things that I learned was saying, like, I'm undocumented, I'm unafraid, I'm unapologetic, right? And no matter how afraid I was and sometimes how sorry I was, to me was always like, well, I'm gonna keep on saying it until I believe it. And that's kind of what got me to continue pushing and continue advocating for resources, especially, like I said, back in my day, there wasn't all of the resources that are now, right? And through that involvement, I was able to create what I call my chosen family. So besides having my blood-related family, I have my chosen family. And they are the ones who give me the support that my family is not able to give me because they do not understand what the educational system is like. So by having that chosen family, I am able to continue looking for resources, asking the right questions. And even if they're not quote unquote the right questions, but just asking questions, get involved with the Dream Center, like Ruby said, the Undocumented Student Center. As the coordinator, as the person who leads that work, I will remember the students that come in every day or the students that keep in touch. And whenever a resource is available, trust me, you'll be the first one to find out. Even if it's a simple email from us saying, hey, you shared this with me, and based on what you shared, like, for example, an employment opportunity, right? This employment opportunity doesn't require DACA, apply. And you'll be the first one to know if you continue to stay in touch with us.
Thank you. And then Minerva, last but not least, if you can share some last tips with our students.
Of course, to double back on Ruby and Maria, of course, asking questions, getting involved, and mainly realizing, since you're participating here, you're already getting started, right? You're already getting started on knowing what is out there for you and taking in, what situation you are in. And knowing that you're not alone and that you can move forward with this and even more, because there's been people who have done it before, even before AB 540, before California Dream Act, before DACA. So now it's we have so many opportunities now that we want to take advantage of, and you need to take advantage of, because it's for your own good, I would say, for, moving on with your education, because your education is yours forever. Nobody can take it from you, how we all mentioned. And this is a pathway of helping you get there on a kind of easier way, kind of not to struggle, but of course getting involved, asking questions. It's not too early to go and do your research on the universities or colleges that you are interested in, to see if they have a resource center for an undocumented student resource center, a dreamer center. They have different names sometimes, but it's never too early to go in and ask or look at their website, make some phone calls, send some emails like, hey, I'm looking into transferring to your school. I'm looking into applying to your school. What resources do you know are available to me? Can I meet with you? Kind of like have them convince you of going to that school, right? Because they are that friendly, because they have that support for you. So you want to feel that you are welcome right before you start. before you attend their school. And of course, then you go in with, several scholarships already on your back, the California Dream Act, other resources, and you're already knowing people in the university or the college, so that it makes it even helpful when you need letters of recommendation for scholarships or for other programs, internships and stuff like that. You're already meeting people, you're already networking. So that's really good to get started on before you're actually at the campus. That way you come in the campus, it's like, hey, I know you, I know you, I know where to go, I know who to ask, and I know how to help others as well.
Thank you, Minerva. Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on that and just kind of emphasize as Minerva was saying, I think Minerva was one of the first persons that I met at COD, and that really introduced me to the student-led club, College of the Desert. College of the Desert has Alas con Futuro, which is a club led by students for undocumented students, and everyone is welcome, but it's mainly focused on, work to make sure that there's resources and more than anything support for the students. So I definitely want to emphasize to, identify your dreamers, identify your network, and those are the people that are going to really understand what you're feeling and what you're struggling with, and that are going to help you, hopefully push each other to navigate the process. So yeah, definitely make sure that you identify that network, those student-led clubs. Most universities and campuses have a student club, undocumented student-led club. So make sure that you look for those. And if there's not one, there might be a need for one. So why not get it started, right? So start looking where you can start to leave your footprint as well, right? As an undocumented student, Maria mentioned when she went through it, there wasn't a lot of resources available. And I was one of those lucky ones that when I came in ready to go into college, Dream Act was already there, right? So I didn't have to try to figure out, grants, and I have more resources and help that a lot of my previous undocumented peers had. And because of that, it's really, that is one of the reasons why I do the work that I do and why I'm here, with all of you guys, because I realized that there was resources, I took advantage of them, and now I realized that I needed to come back and I needed to pay it forward. So I just want to remind you that when you do make it, because you will make it, don't forget who you are, don't forget where you come from, and again, make sure to pay it forward, because there's a line of students behind you that are waiting for the opportunities and that are waiting for legislation and laws to be passed so that they can have greater opportunities and an easier access to higher education. And with that, I want to thank you, panelists, for joining us today. Has been a great session, and it's been really nice to hear about your backgrounds and very insightful to learn how, even though we all share maybe the status at some point, we all had different pathways that we took and different experiences. And at the end of the day, the resources are here, and you are doing the work to make sure that you're paying it forward to the students. So thank you. At this point, I want to encourage everyone, if you want to start sending us, because of the time, if you want to start sending questions through the chat, I'm just going to share my screen real quick right now to share our contact information. If you want to reach out to any of us with additional questions or questions very specific to CalState or to COD, this is our contact information. Can everyone see it? Yeah, cool. Okay. So make sure you take a screenshot or, write it down really quick so that you have it, and that, if there's any questions, feel free to send us an email. My information is also here as well. And then before we get started into the questions, I want to remind you again to check out the upcoming sessions in the next upcoming weeks. There's a lot of great resources. Share them with your classmates, share them with your parents, and with anyone that you think will benefit from this session. And again, follow us on social media. We will be advertising this and more resources. We like to share COD and CalState resources for students, so we're constantly making sure that those resources get to you through our social media as well. Again, thank you to our sponsors and to our partners that made this possible, to our panelists for giving us your time.
I would like to ask a question on internships. I know you guys covered scholarships, you covered resources, and how did you guys plan for when you guys were actually graduating? I know we have DACA. Do you have any recommendations for students too? It almost feels like they have to be doing many things at the same time, but internships or opportunities for employment. Can you
I think
speak
I
on?
can talk a little bit about that. One of my recommendations, again, it's getting involved as much as possible. Like I said, back in my day, and I feel like we're going back in time, like back in 2010, right, when there was no DACA, California Dream Act was just a conversation. We did have AB 540, but different conversations were happening during that time. So one of the things is that a lot of students are being left without DACA, at least the new generation coming into higher education or, colleges, universities are being left without the opportunity to have employment. One of the things that I wish I would have known or somebody would have talked to me about is that regardless of my immigration status, I can have a business. I can be an entrepreneur and I can hire citizens and residents and make it big, right? I wish I would have learned more about that. And again, we can discuss with you those opportunities. Now, because of the advocacy that undocumented people have done, there has been many policies that have been introduced to help you, right? So if you are thinking about nursing school, about medical school, law school, a lot of times you're gonna hear, you don't have a social, you can't. But let me tell you, in the state of California, there's a lot of policies that benefit undocumented students wanting to go into these fields. And a lot of times we get caught up on DACA. Oh, DACA, like, no tengo DACA. Oh, what's going to be about my life if I don't have DACA? There's multiple opportunities. You don't need DACA to thrive. If there's any message you take from this is that internships are available. My recommendation is find an internship that's going to pay you. Don't do free labor, right? Even though you are learning from them, they are also learning from you. So ask them to pay you with the scholarship, with the stipend. Make that ask, and don't be afraid to ask for those opportunities. Say, hey, I can't afford school. Are you willing to give me a scholarship for $500 if I dedicate, let's say, 300 hours of service to you? Right? Right now, a lot of schools are advocating for fellowships, and that's basically like an internship, but you get paid in order for you to receive that professional development opportunity. So more and more advocacy is happening, but we also need you all to take advantage of what's available. One opportunity is looking at Dream Summer. UCLA has this program called Dream Summer, and they actually pay you to intern somewhere. It's like, again, it's a fellowship. Cal State San Bernardino has now what is called the Inland Empire Fellowship Program. If you meet with us, if you allow Cal State San Bernardino Undocumented Student Center to serve you somehow, you will be eligible. And usually the application opens around June, I want to say, and it is an academic year program where we provide you with different development opportunity, like professional development opportunities, and you get money, you get paid for that. So again, look for those opportunities, use them, because if you don't use them, then we can continue to advocate for them.
Another question popped up on where can I do business, like business major. And Maria, I know you answered that you guys have an excellent program.
USB does have an amazing, like we are really well known for our College of Business. So one of the most popular ones is like the entrepreneurship. And we've had students graduate from CSUSB and actually now have their own business. And like I said, they started without DACA, without anything. Like, it's amazing to see their journey. I'm gonna try to really fast look up the information, but one of our alumni works for the Women's Business Center. I believe that's the name, Inland Empire Women's Business Center. And she can do consultations and help you create a plan, like a business plan, so that when you do go into business school, you already have kind of like a plan to get yourself started. And that way, as you're taking the classes, then you're implementing the research towards your business, so that by the time you graduate, or even before, you're ready to launch your business.
Yes, and COD also has a program for business before you transfer to COD as well, right, Ruby?
We do. Yeah, we do. And definitely want to echo what Maria was saying, that the program, not only the the business one, but the entrepreneurship at Cal State San Bernardino is great. So you have options.
Those are all the questions I see, Fatima, for now.
Thank you, Christina. Yeah, if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to send them. There's a lot of resources, as everyone mentioned, out there, and a lot that have been shared on the chat. I definitely encourage you to use that budget sheet that Maria just shared from Immigrants Rising to really help you map out where you are and where your gaps are. If you can kind of have an idea of what you could potentially get from, the state of California and different grants or the school, then you know what you need to make up for. And I can't stress enough how much scholarships help. I myself, I'm a lot of the dreamers that I know actually have graduated from either Cal State or UC with zero debt. And you wonder why or how, right? When we're not even eligible for the Pell Grant. But that's because we get to work and we get to apply to scholarships and we realize that we have a bigger gap and that we need to fulfill it. So my piece of advice is do not get comfortable and, keep applying, keep going. I take one scholarship application per week and do it. They say, you sometimes you apply to 20 scholarships and you might get 2 or 3, but that's okay because sometimes that 2 or 3 scholarships is all you need. I was very blessed to get the OneFuture scholarship when I was going through COD in Cal State Fullerton. I got it throughout the 4 years for a total of $15,000 throughout the 3 years. And that was a huge help, right? I had to apply every year and I had to do my personal mission statement every year and I had to look for the letters to write and everything that the scholarship applications require you to do. But that didn't take as much work as it would have taken to go and work if I could even work, because I couldn't even work, right? I didn't even have that gap. So I had no choice. Either I was, doing cleaning houses or doing whatever babysitting or whatever type of work, or I was sitting in front of a computer writing scholarships. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather write scholarships than having to be, outside and sweating. Not that it's not work that I wouldn't do, definitely. But if you have the opportunity and you have the resources available to help you focus on your work and to pay as much of your time into your education, take them. And I don't see any more questions coming up. So again, thank you all. I think we're gonna close it up now. Minerva, Maria, Ruby, thank you for sharing your time with us. I know that our students really enjoy seeing all of you and hearing from your experiences. We will be having more sessions, so definitely make sure to check those out, as a lot of the resources that we just mentioned right now are going to be covering more in depth throughout the sessions. So thank you again.